was one of the worst moments of my life. So my dad was there, my mom, and my brother. And we're just sitting on the couch in my parents' house and just watching, and just, in some ways it's surreal, it was just disbelief.
A chill went through me because I realized this is New York and that's where he was. Decided to call Dina. I thought, well, at least I'll know if she's spoken to him. I called and my heart sunk. She said, your brother's on a hijacked plane.
I lived on the 5th floor of a walk-up, about 10 city blocks from the Trade Center. Seeing the second plane hit, it was very quiet, and then it was this massive explosion. Even from 10 blocks away, it was very scary. We kept looking around like more planes were coming. That's what we thought.
You know, we lived around the corner from St. Vincent's Hospital, which was the closest hospital to the towers. This is where they're going to bring everybody. But there weren't any sirens because there were so few survivors. That was something that hit us.
Just like the generations before us tried to talk about the importance of Pearl Harbor, this is a moment when America's bubble burst. Our sense of security in our own homes in America was shattered. And I think that's what impacted people the most, is this feeling that, wow, I'm really not as safe as I thought I was.
Gordy was working in his office and heard about the plane going into the other tower. He stayed there because they provided sort of like a PA announcement, essentially. Came over this loudspeaker and said, you know, we think everything's fine in this tower, everybody should stay where they are. And so he remained in the tower and then was there until the second plane hit. So we're checking hospitals, we're checking, you know, with friends and family, trying to find anybody who knew anything, and we couldn't find anything from anybody. I think we all felt something. We all felt a sense of loss. We all felt like, you know, he wasn't coming back. We didn't have closure until we, you know, received word from New York that they had discovered his wallet to start with. And so they sent us the wallet, what was it, credit cards and all those kind of things, you know, dry cleaning bill. So we had that. And so I think at that point, we knew that he was gone.
Next, I would like to welcome my friend and classmate of Gordy and close family friend, Dean Phillips.
Thanks, Bill. Peace at last, peace at last, peace at last. And let me start by thanking you, Andrew. We would not be gathered here, any of us, today without your yeoman's work, your perseverance, and your fortitude, and we're all thankful. And this is one of the most beautiful sights that these tired eyes have seen in a long, long time, and I want to thank you all for being here. 34 years ago, I walked onto a school bus. It was our football bus that we would take to games, and it was our final football game of the 1987 season, my senior year. It was Gordy's junior year. So most of us were gathered in front, not discussing the playoff game that was before us, of course, rather whose parents may have been out of town and where we would party afterwards. And I look to the back of the bus, and there's Gordy, towards the very back, sitting all alone, in full pads, with his helmet on, grunting, and hitting the front of the seat as you would an opposing running back. And that was, for those of you who knew Gordy, that was his kind of pregame ritual, to hit that seat and sit there stoically and with intensity. And that was so Gordy. On one part, a ferocious and intense competitor, and moments later, a compassionate, fun-loving, total goofball. And after the game was over, and if any of you know Blake football, it was a playoff loss in the first round. Gordy did something that has affected me for the last 20 years and will for my entire life. He took off his helmet and he handed it to me and asked if I would return it along with my equipment to the Blake Athletic Department after the season was over, which was something I'd be happy to do for my buddy, of course. Now, mind you, though, Gordy's helmet that he handed me, not his pads, just the helmet, was not your average run-of-the-mill white Blake football helmet like mine. Gordy's was special. His helmet was kind of a canvas, if you will, a billboard of sorts, on which he had painted a devil and a pitchfork and should we say some inspirational words, all done by hand. And he did it with, not paint, but he did it with nail polish. In fact, the colors he used were remarkably similar to yours, Mary, on your nails right now. And it was a prototypical effort by Gordy to both make him, if not our entire team, just a little bit more threatening and intimidating to schools and linemen who were 3 times our size. And I have spent countless hours, wondering why Gordy would hand me that helmet, nothing else, and why I decided to return everything, my equipment, my helmet, back to the athletic office. But I held on to that helmet of Gordy's for 14 years, until returning it to the Blake display at the Aamoth Stadium when it was opened in 2011. And like many of you here, those of you certainly who knew Gordy, we feel his presence all the time, especially today. When I'm in Wayzata, when I'm walking the streets of New York, when I see men in foursome bow ties and slightly too short pink pants, and most acutely and most intensely and most recently, when I was trapped in the US Capitol on January 6th. And I've been thinking of Gordy every day lately as I ponder how a country, a remarkable country like our own, could be so extraordinarily unified on September 11th, 2001, and yet so remarkably and dangerously divided just 2 decades later. And I'm sure you would agree that Gordy would likely have been disappointed by the course that we've taken in the last 2 decades. But there is one thing I'm certain of, he would be optimistic about the future. An opinion writer in the New York Times this week, some of you have read, Charles Blow, wrote that we are all covered forever with just a bit of the ash from those towers. So today, as we honor Gordy and the 2,995 others who left us that fateful day, I ask a small favor of every single one of you. In the spirit of reconciliation, in the spirit of hopefulness, and in the spirit of unity that Gordy stood for and stands for, I ask that we all take a step in that direction. We got to make something out of the worst tragedy of our lifetimes, and there's no better way to honor one of the most remarkable men I've ever known in my life, and that is Gordy Aamoth. So I ask you all to keep the faith, I ask you all to stay optimistic, and I ask you all to stay hopeful. To you, Gordy, to Peter, to Eric, and to Mary, to all the friends and family, and to all of you that took a few moments out of your day to join us. I thank you, because this is what America looks like, and that's the spirit we all need going forward. Godspeed, my friends.
I remember it like it was yesterday. I was a marathon runner, so I often ran first thing in the morning.
It was a beautiful morning. It was September, like 70 degree, just deep blue sky. It was a great morning.
September 11th is my birthday, so I had taken that day off. I remember putting my kids on the bus in the morning, and by the time I got to the gym, I saw what was happening on TV, and I immediately went home and threw a bag together and went in.
So when the first plane hit, we had our TVs around the office, and we saw the live footage, and everybody was confused as to what happened. When the second plane hit, though, my boss saw it live. He came running back into the trading room, and he said to everybody, he announced there was no accident, everybody out.
I knew that I would know many people, and I did, who were killed and many who were very injured. It's one of those moments in life where you think you've done and seen everything, and everybody's ill-prepared for it, no matter how much you think it might happen.
So I was not prepared for what I experienced and saw at the site, and I don't think humans are really built to experience that. And I certainly didn't have the life experience to be prepared for it. It was hard. I had horrific nightmares for many, many months.
By the end of the night, it kind of hit me what had happened. I broke down like a baby. My wife was the strong one of the group that day, and basically just poured me into bed.
Motivation for us, frankly, came from seeing all the people, the family and relatives, friends of the people who were missing. They had set themselves up largely outside the perimeter of the World Trade Center, and they were holding up pictures and they were looking for information, and it was heartbreaking to see. Our job was to try to find their loved ones. Our job was to try to, if their loved one was not alive, it was to bring them home so they could have funeral, they could have that sense of closure for the family, and that was very motivating to us. It was very difficult, the smoke was intense, the heat was intense, and my team personally did not find anyone alive. It was just not that sort of a situation. It was very loud, and there were times when my unit had to have some quiet to hear through microphones that we would drop down to see if anyone was calling for help, where everybody's yelling, "Quiet, quiet, quiet." That's because my unit was asking for quiet because we thought we had a human voice on a microphone. Difficult to describe to people unless you're there, but I think in a word, overwhelming.
I wanted to help if I could. I did frankly explore. I ended up on a rooftop downtown, and I was a photographer, so I brought my camera with me and I talked to the police. We didn't know how many people had died. So I went home exhausted. I don't even remember if it was nighttime, but my neighborhood and all of Lower Manhattan was so smoky, and the smell was so strong that you couldn't sleep. And that's part of what drove me to end up volunteering. I started at a little canteen on the east side. The main thing that we wanted to do is provide food, water, coffee. You try to get them in the tent for 5 minutes to not see the debris, because they were very concerned what would happen psychologically if they couldn't do that throughout the day. So that was our main goal, and to have them be able to talk about their day and unload and then go back to work. I ended up doing that for 9 months.
My brother Tom was in New York. He decided to come home early because it was his daughter's first day of school, and it was kindergarten. After this plane took off, 4 terrorists appeared and took over the cockpit. The plane turned, and obviously they were being hijacked. When my brother could, he called his wife, Dina, who was in San Francisco. Dina had the news on, so she was able to relay very specific information to him that he could then share with other passengers that were sitting nearby him. He knew after the plane had hit the Pentagon that they had to act fast. So on the last call, when Tom was talking to Dina, she said, "What can I do?" And he said, "I want you to pray, and we're going to do something, Dina. We're going to do something." They decided to make their move when they saw that they were over a rural field and breached the cockpit. The plane crashed, didn't reach its intended destination, which was the nation's capital.
Well, he was larger than life. He was stocky, he was strong, he was loud, he was just a person who, when you walked in the room and you just noticed him.
I remember looking up to him greatly, going, man, the guy was charismatic. I mean, I knew in junior high, this guy was loaded to 10 with charisma.
Oh, he loved New York. He wanted to be in New York his whole life. I think he was so attracted by the restaurants and the bright lights and Wall Street and all the amazing things about New York. And he had great friends there, and they had a great time. That was sort of his dream, was to be working on Wall Street. He loved the view. It always scared me because I don't like heights, but he would definitely bring us out there and and I'd be 20 feet away from the window, and he'd be like making fun of me because he's like, "Come on, check it out." And I'd be like, I'm good right here.
He was my brother. I was his younger brother. He unfortunately has become more of a memory to me than tied up in 9/11 than he has. I wish he were still my brother who could be there to help with all of it. I feel like I miss that the most.
My brother was 6 years older than me, and so growing up, I obviously looked up to him and followed him around like a puppy, basically. He taught me how to throw the ball. I played football with he and his friends, so I could throw a football. I could do all the sports, and he kind of admired that, so I felt pretty cool about that. I loved him dearly, and I know he loved me. He loved the outdoors. He loved hunting and fishing, being on the lake. He loved American history big time. He was kind of the life of our family, you know, being the middle boy. It was, you know, definitely a big hole when, you know, without him there. Tom's daughters are amazing, and that is an amazing living legacy. He would be so proud of them, and I know he is. They started in kindergarten on that day and graduated successfully from high school, college, and grad school. They're successful in volunteerism and being good people. He was a great dad, and I know that he would have liked to be there for those milestones and moments. He was a dad, he was working, he is a son, a brother, and he was called to action on that moment along with the other passengers, and they did what they were called to do.
This type of memorial is important to have, not only the memorial itself, but documenting the stories of the people most directly impacted as a way to provide an educational opportunity for those who, you know, may have not even been born on 9/11 to understand, you know, its context, its time and place, and the stories behind these Minnesotans who were lost and how some provided eyewitness to this event. So,
I want this to be a place that people can come and be comfortable, and people can come and be joyful.
We've designed it in such a way that there's layers of meaning that you could attach to it, right? You can experience it walking by and just read the large bold text. And then when you get right up to the actual artifacts, you need to look down into a recessed enclosure where those artifacts will be. There's a couple of pieces of steel, there's a piece of glass.
We have an incredible flag flown by my childhood best friend, Stuart Howell, or Captain Stuart Howell.
After 9/11, as we started going in what we called Operations Enduring Freedom and Iraqi Freedom, so these wars overseas, people started to fly flags or other mementos, but flags for people that were special to them back home. Naturally, for me, being close to the Aamoth family, I said, you know, one of these, I gotta get one of these to the Aamoths because of everything that went along.
That flag will actually be in a separate enclosure, and I believe what we're intending to do is actually take it out of the enclosure on the 9/11 anniversary, raise it up on a flagpole as part of the ceremony, and then at the end of the day, lower it back down, fold it back up, and return it back into it. This is both for the community, but it's very important to the Aamoth family.
It's about all of us. It's about the people. This part's hard for me to talk about. The people who gave up essentially their lives to walk around and sort of try to figure out if they could help find remains. Doing that for a year, I can't imagine doing that. The people who ran into the building when I'm sure every part of them wanted to run away, the people they didn't know that they were going to go try to save, everybody that was involved in that day and everybody afterwards.
I hope that this next generation has an opportunity to visit the memorial here in Wayzata and share stories about what has happened on that date, but also find it inside of them to that patriotic spirit that they can do something in their lives, that they can respond and be an active participant in our citizenship and our country.
Next, I would like to introduce closing remarks from Eric Aamoth, brother to Gordy.
I just want to take a moment to sort of take this all in. I think all of us with our family is just overwhelmed by the support and everybody being here. It means so much to us to try to get through this day and every day. I'd like to thank Stuart Howell, Steve Nielsen,
Catherine Ramstead, and everyone else who donated the artifacts. Catherine and Jim is with me today. Jim meant so much to our family. He was one of the first people that was at our house that day. So he'll always be, he's one of my heroes and someone that I look up to, always will. We're so touched this memorial is here in Wayzata, our hometown. We're so pleased, as I said, that the memorial recognizes all the victims, the first responders, and everyone impacted by 9/11. We spent 35 years here. Gordy spent much time here, mostly at sunsets, the Blue Point, or on Lake Minnetonka. He moved here when he was 17, spent a lot of his time here during and after high school. After college, he moved to New York to pursue his dream of being an investment banker. It was hard at first. He spent time sleeping on couches, but finally found a job working for Sandler O'Neill on the 104th floor of the World Trade Center. The weekend before, he was home, and he told us he needed to fly back to celebrate his first big deal. After the plane hit the North Tower, he called my mom to tell her he was okay. We never heard from him again. We're indebted to the police, the firefighters, military, and first responders who sacrificed their lives to save so many that day. We're also internally grateful to people who worked so hard to help families like ours find closure. I hope all of you get a chance to visit the exhibit at the Minnetonka Arts Center, which displays some amazing pictures of the recovery work at the site. Thank you, Lisa Posley, Dan Murphy, for showing up at the site all those days and taking those pictures. Lisa was a special friend to our family, dedicated 9 months of her life to take photos and share those with our family, and we became very close to her. I can't imagine what it must have been like for her. For those of you who didn't know Gordy, he was always the center of attention. He was stout and strong. He was loud and outgoing. He wore preppy clothes like this shirt every day. He wore preppy clothes everywhere, even to punk rock concerts. He used to take me to concerts in Minneapolis, where he would slam dance with all the other kids. Gordy was too big, and he would bounce those smaller punk kids all over the floor, while I sat terrified in the corner that no one was going to notice me. He loved spending times with his friends. So many of them are here today, and they're all dressed up in their best preppy clothes. He loved playing golf, football, and hockey. At my wedding, we took pictures down at the depot. So before the wedding, group photos. He kind of started to take a liking to the photographer. So he asked her, would it be possible for her to take a picture of him? In his tux, sitting by the lake. That iconic picture is my favorite picture of Gordy because it reminds me so much of him and of that day. I'm sure he's smiling down on us today because once again, he is the center of attention. Special thanks to Andy Mullen, who was a family friend of ours, and we grew up going to what I used to call God's school together in Minneapolis. When Andy reached out to us, I'm not sure that we understood the gravity of the project and how much was going to go into it. He and the rest of the city have done an incredible job of keeping us so involved in the memorial. At times, I'm not sure that he knew what he was signing up for as the flurry of emails from the Aamoth family continued to flood into his email box. But he's handled it all with grace and kept us so involved and so much a part of this the memorial and this event, and we appreciate him. Thanks again to all of you who are here today. Support from you and all of our friends and family are what helps us get through today. We're pleased this memorial will allow people a place to come and reflect, and a place that the younger generations, like my sons, can learn and understand more about the tragedy. Our country suffered terrible losses from 9/11. Our family suffered a terrible loss. I hope this memorial will remind future generations of the bravery and sacrifice of the heroes of 9/11, and remind all of us that we are all Americans. Thank you very much. It took me a while to understand what impact it had on the world and how everybody was grieving, and the stories people would tell me about I moved back from New York because I moved back from Washington, D.C. because I wanted to be closer to home, and so just the real impact on a lot of people's lives necessarily weren't a part of it, but felt like it was something that transformational, and it changed their lives too. I don't think we knew about that or processed that initially, but I think over time we appreciate it more.
After September 11th, neighbors helped neighbors. There were people, volunteers, first responders, the firefighters. Everybody was an American, and they were willing to help, support one another, and things were different.
What unites us is our common humanity, our desire for the same things. We want to be part of something productive in our lives. We want to have family and friends. We want to belong. We want to give. We want to enjoy what's good in life. We want to lean on each other when we go through what's bad in life.
Yeah, it's been the largest, single challenge I've had to face as transitioning into an adult or throughout my life. Things, you know what I mean? How to be there, how to show up for others. The more uncomfortable things in life, that they exist, and I think, that's a hard lesson to learn.
My brother used to say this, life is for the living, and he would say to my parents, what are you going to do next? What are we going to do? And he always inspired them to take trips and see things, learn things, and in that spirit, I would say that hug your families. Yeah, this is my sister Martha, this is my brother Tom, and there's me. Appreciate every day that we have as a family, as a community, as a country. Life is short, so we don't need to be spending our time fighting about things that don't matter, that's for sure.
Be appreciative of every day you have in life. Be appreciative of every relationship you have. Care about each other. Don't be afraid to be happy and proud to be an American, where we live in a place where we take great pains to make sure that you have the freedom and security that we have here.